Hello and welcome back to the channel. Whether you are a beginner or a seasoned Linux user, today's video is going to give you a complete breakdown of three powerful security tools on openSUSE Linux: Firewalld, AppArmor, and SELinux. These tools are essential for maintaining a secure Linux environment, protecting both home users and enterprise-level systems. By the end of this video, you will have a thorough understanding of how each tool works and how you can implement them to secure your own openSUSE installation. No matter your level of expertise, let's get started. Now, let's understand firewalls and Firewalld. Let's start with what is a firewall. Before we dive into Firewalld, let's start with the basics. Again, what exactly is a firewall? A firewall is a security system that monitors and controls incoming and outgoing network traffic. Think of it as a security guard standing at the door of your computer network. This guard decides who can enter and leave based on the rules you set. Without a firewall, your system is wide open to external threats like hackers, malicious software, or even accidental misconfigurations. Now, let's move on to Firewalld. In openSUSE Linux, Firewalld is the default firewall management tool. It's more flexible and modern than traditional firewall management systems like IP tables. The key feature of Firewalld is that it allows dynamic rule updates. This means you can change firewall settings on the fly without needing to restart your system or services. This is particularly useful for systems that need to stay online, such as servers or any system where downtime is costly. Firewalld offers some powerful features like dynamic firewall. You don't need to restart the firewall to apply changes. Zone-based control allows for easy configuration of different levels of security for different network interfaces. Rich rules. Advanced users can define more complex rules for filtering traffic. Integration with services. Many services come with their own firewall rules, which can be applied instantly when that service is activated. In Firewalld, traffic control is based on the concept of zones. A zone defines a level of trust for incoming connections on a network. Each zone has a set of rules that determine which traffic is allowed and which is blocked. Let's explain some of the zones and how they could be used in real-life scenarios. We have the zone drop. This is the most restrictive zone. All incoming traffic is dropped with no notification to the sender. Outgoing traffic is allowed. This zone can be useful if your computer is connected to an untrusted network like a public Wi-Fi in a cafe. Block zone. All incoming traffic is rejected and the sender is notified. Use this when you want to make it clear that your system is not accepting connections. The public zone. This zone is for systems that connect to public networks like the internet. You don't trust the network completely, so only a minimal amount of incoming traffic is allowed. Think of this as the default zone for most users. And the home zone for trusted networks such as your home Wi-Fi. Here you might allow more services like file sharing between devices. Internal zone. Use this for internal networks such as private office networks where you trust the devices and want to allow more open communication. Lastly, trusted zone, the least restrictive zone. All incoming and outgoing connections are allowed. Be careful when using this zone. It should only be used on very secure, fully trusted networks. To check which zone your network interface is currently using, run the following command: sudo firewall cmd firewall cmd and get active zones, and it will show you the active zones right now. And Docker is from the previous video about Docker, and we are using the public zone. So this command will show you the zones that are active and the interfaces assigned to each. Typically, your Ethernet or Wi-Fi connection will be mapped to one of these zones, the one we mentioned before. So let's move forward. Let's walk through an example. Imagine you are setting up a laptop at home connected to your Wi-Fi. You trust this network, so you want to use the home zone. First, you can see which zone your interface is currently using, as we did before. If it is not set to the home zone, you can change it with the following command by doing firewall cmd and zone equal home, and we can change, okay, for the interface ETH1, and if you are using Wi-Fi you can replace the ETH1 with the wireless, like commonly the name will be WLAN 0, and you hit enter. And if we checked again, now for the interface Ethernet 1, it's in home now. And if I want to change it back, okay, I can come here and do public as it was before. Okay, and if we check, it's again to the public. So here, as we said, it will be the name of the network interface, and you can replace this with the name of your actual interface. Now the changes is not permanent. So make sure that while you are running the commands to add this permanent, and after that, like, let's run it now. Let's do, okay, we leave it like that, permanent, setting zone to public. Okay, so, and after you finish, you should run this reload. Okay, so let's say we ran this and you changed other things using firewall cmd. Okay, so when you finish all what you are doing, you can run something else that it's runtime to permanent. All the changes you did, it will make it permanent and it will do reload. This ensures that every time you connect to your home Wi-Fi or the same Ethernet, the correct zone will be applied. Okay. Before moving to the next point, which is allowing a service in a zone, I would like to recap what have been said before, that when we run this command sudo firewall, okay, cmd get active zones, it will show you the active zones now, and we already moved the Ethernet one to be under this zone, to be controlled by this zone, which is home, and we have the default one, the public. So any device left behind will be under this zone, which is the public, the default one. You can change the default zone for your entire system by specifying that using the firewall cmd. And to do that, you can go ahead and do set default zone, and you write the default zone for your system. It might be home, drop, any of the zones we listed before. Okay, so the zone can be controlling every single device you have on your system by default. Okay, or you can specify a zone specifically for or a particular device on your system. Like you can have two Ethernets, one under the control of the zone home or drop, and the other one you can leave it to be controlled by public, or you can put both of them, each of them, in a different completely zone than the default one. So if you run this list all, it will give you the parameters for the default zone, the default active zone right now, like that. So let's say I would like to know about the parameters or the active zone now, which is home that we put the Ethernet under its control. You can do that by info zone and the name of the zone. It will show you the same uh, look like the other one, and we will see here that we have the interface under the control. Okay, so zones can be for everything, or you can specify it for a single device, or you can put each single device in a different zone. Depends on your system. Maybe you have a big server or a big desktop with many Ethernets, and you can put each one in a different zone according to the needs. Uh, so let's say now that we have our interface in the home zone, let's say you want to allow SSH, so you can access this laptop remotely from another device in your house. You can easily enable the SSH service within the home zone. And to do that, sudo firewall cmd, and you specify the zone, which is home, and add service SSH. Okay, and don't forget the permanent. And after you run that, don't forget the reload. So the permanent flag ensures that this change persists after a reboot. The reload command is used to apply changes without disrupting existing connections. You can, after that, run the info, and you will see that SSH has been there added to the zone. So you can SSH to your system if this Ethernet under the control of that zone. Here, this command list services will list the defined services for the default zone. Let's say you want to know about all the services that predefined coming with the firewall. You run this command, get services, and it's a long list. And from there, you can pick the service that you want to allow on your zone that you assign the Ethernet device for it. For more advanced users, Firewalld supports rich rules, which allow for more granular control. For example, let's allow HTTP traffic, but only from a specific IP address. Like here, I will check my IP. Okay, so I know the other IP will be .50. To allow HTTP traffic, but only from a specific IP address. This one, not this one, this IP 168.122.50. So I will allow traffic only from this IP to come to my machine using rich rules. So in order to do that, sudo firewall cmd, and we have to specify the zone, and here it is home, and add rich rule, and between single quotes, and here don't forget the permanent, and let's write our rule. It has to start with the word rule, family, double quotes, IP version 4, and then you specify the be careful with the typing, source address, and equal 168.150, and after that you after the 50 here again double quotes, okay, and the service, the name of the service equal double quotes HTTP. Let's maximize this, so HTTP, okay, and at the end accept. So now press enter, and don't forget the sudo firewall cmd reload. So let's clean this, and sudo firewall cmd info zone home, and we shall see the rules adding here for the zone. So now this rule only allows the computer with the IP address 192.168.122.50 to access the HTTP service on this machine. To make sure your firewall is functioning correctly, you can use logs to monitor what's happening. Firewalld integrates with the system's logging service, which in this case, the systemd. To check the firewall logs, you can use sudo journal control -u and firewalld, and you press enter. And from here, you can monitor your firewall, okay, and we have some warnings. So this command will show you the events related to firewalld, such as blocked traffic or services that were allowed. Okay. Moving on to AppArmor. AppArmor restricts the capabilities of programs and services. This is an application level security tool used to restrict programs' access to resources. It works by defining profiles that specify what files, capabilities, and system resources a particular program is allowed to access. Think of it like a sandbox for each application. Its main component is a profile for each application, which specifies what files and resources the program can access. AppArmor works in two modes: enforcing mode, AppArmor actively restricts programs, and complaint mode. AppArmor only logs violations without preventing access, useful for debugging. Let's break this down. Imagine you have a web browser on your system. Without AppArmor, this browser can access any file or resource it has permissions for, like your documents, other programs, or system files. But what if there is a vulnerability in the browser? It could be exploited to gain access to sensitive areas of your system. With AppArmor, you can confine the browser. A profile might say this browser can only access files in the /home/user/downloads directory, and it cannot modify system files. This limits the damage that can be done if the browser is compromised. To talk about AppArmor components, we have the command AA-status. This command to show which profiles are loaded and enforced. And we have the policy files or profiles define what each applications each application can do located in /etc AppArmor.d contain the actual rules enforced on applications. So the first one is sudo a status, and because the output will be long, and here we can see which profiles are loaded and enforced, and the list goes till the end. Okay, and we talked about etc AppArmor.d, and here we can see the profiles that controlling the or enforcing on the application on the system. Okay. AppArmor is installed by default on openSUSE, but to confirm, we can use this command sudo system control status and AppArmor service. Okay, and the other command, it's the same like the one we ran before, which is AppArmor _ status, and we have to do the same like that. Okay, let's say AppArmor is not installed, so you can install it via sudo zipper install -t pattern AppArmor to make sure that all AppArmor packages are installed, and you just hit enter, and we will wait for the repository refresh. And yeah, we wrote something wrong here. Okay, AppArmor. Yeah, sorry, it is without the U. So the pattern already installed, and again you can check the service, and if it is not running, you can just do enable and to make sure that it will restart on reboot. Also, let's do this rpm ul to list all the packages on our system, and we will grep -i AppArmor. Sorry, not L, is A, and instead of that I will do sort. Okay, so here we can see the packages that installed for AppArmor, and here all these packages AppArmor will not be functioning correctly on your openSUSE if any of these packages is not installed. So make sure that if nothing is installed from these packages, make sure to install it. Okay, so now let's move forward for AppArmor profiles. So in other words, to understand profiles control application behavior, and it is located in /etc/AppArmor.d. okay, in this folder. And the profile types are to enforced profiles, restrict programs, complaint profiles, log violations without enforcement, and to list active profiles to show which profiles are loaded, enforced, or in complaint mode is to run this command. Okay, and to list the programs exist but not in enforce mode or complaint mode, like unconfined, you should run this command and it will list the application that it is not confined by AppArmor. Okay, to update the existing profiles, you run this command, log profile, and it will do something like refresh and reload the profiles, and if there is anything missing, it will show you in a message. So for the coming example to talk about managing a profile or creating a profile, configuring AppArmor for common application like Nginx or MySQL. So on our server, we have MariaDB already installed, okay? And we can see here, it is not confined by AppArmor. And also to add to this example, let's do installation for ng and inx. Okay, let's install this package, and to give an example for both of them, to put them in complaint mode and switch back to enforce mode, and to show how the app to configure your AppArmor for installed application and you wanted to make a profile for it. So we have to wait for this to finish. Okay, so let's press yes here. Okay, so now we have Nginx installed on our system. So now as we saw that we have Nginx installed on our system, let's create profile for it. So to create a profile, you have two ways to create a profile. You can generate a primitive profile like start point, and you can start editing it, and it will be in complaint mode, not enforce mode. Or you can start with generating profile using AppArmor to make AppArmor learn about your application while you are using it for some time, to make AppArmor learning about it. And once you finish, you can tell AppArmor to finish scanning and save the profile. So the first way of doing that is using this command gen profile, and you give the full path of the application. Okay, and okay, let's see how it goes. So as you can see and read the message, and here if I press enter, the default is scanning. So maybe I go here and in another window, and system control, start Nginx, and again, and if you have some configuration, you configured Nginx and you have web services running right now, again, and you make AppArmor learn about it. Once you finish, just hit F capital and the file will be generated. So let's take a look at that file. Sudo ei etc AppArmor.d usr spin nginx. Okay, this is the file. So by default, it's in enforce mode. So let's say you would like to start with a complaint mode and you start to edit the file according to your needs. Okay, so let's delete this. Okay, and the other way is to create auto dep, and again the path of the program, and this will generate a profile, like a basic profile. And let's open it, and we can see that it is flagged already as in complaint mode. Okay, so let's give an example for if you would like to configure your profile to do something. So now I would like that Nginx that has no access to /temp for read or write. Okay, so I will add here abstractions and Apache 2 common Apache. Check the spelling. I think, yeah, I think it's Apache. Okay, and I will come here, deny /temp, anything under /temp, read write to denied. Okay, and after that you should do sudo AppArmor to parse, looking for any error for the created profile. Here USR spin nginx, and now you can enforce the profile. Okay, so now it's enforce mode. If you open the file again, you will see the flag is gone, and now our engine nginx has a profile with AppArmor, and we added a configuration to deny nginx to access /temp for read or write. And also you can run this to check if it is loaded, and I believe it will be up. Yes, it is here, loaded. Okay, so to troubleshoot AppArmor, you should check the logs, and violations are logged in /var/log/audit/audit.log. So you can do this tail -f, and the path is var log audit and audit.log. So it seems, yeah, nothing in there. Let's check. Okay, sorry, we forgot sudo tail -f and audit.log. So here you can identify any violations for fine-tuning your profile, like running the application, and you can change the application to be in complaint mode, and you start checking here the permissions that the app is looking for or what is it trying, so you can edit your profile accordingly. This is for troubleshooting the AppArmor logs and violations. And also let's exit from this, and don't forget from time to time to run this. Okay, this here, it found something, and capability ignore. Yeah, it is asking us about read search capability. You can here choose to audit, ignore, deny, or allow. So I can simply say ignore. Here capability to override, ignore. Here error log owner. Okay, I will say abort. So as you can see, this command will give you the chance to edit or to change your profile for the app. So let's check this file again and see if it added. See, as we can see, some things started to be added here, and I hope this will clarify the idea behind the AppArmor and how to configure your profile. And this is how AppArmor is working. And once you run this command, the one we run right now, this one, after you creating the profile, if any changes any permission the app is looking for, it will continue asking you like that, and you answer accordingly to the situation in hand. So here again, because I said ignore, so I will just say finish. Okay, so let's move forward. SELinux, which stands for Security Enhanced Linux, is another powerful tool for enforcing access control policies on Linux systems. It goes deeper than AppArmor by applying mandatory access control (MAC) at the kernel level, offering more comprehensive and granular security. Though openSUSE Linux defaults to AppArmor, SELinux can be installed, configured, and used to enhance security. Before starting the configuration of SELinux, you should know a bit about how SELinux is organized. Three components play a role: the security framework in Linux kernel, the SELinux libraries and binaries, the SELinux policy. Okay, so with SELinux, every file, process, and system resource has a security label. When a process tries to access a file or resource, SELinux checks its security label against the access control policies. If the process is not allowed to perform the requested action, SELinux will block it. You can think of SELinux as a strict supervisor who ensures that processes and users only access what they are allowed to, according to predefined rules. This makes it extremely powerful for locking down system-sensitive environments like servers. The SELinux framework is supported on openSUSE Leap, the latest one, 15.6. openSUSE Leap offers all binaries and libraries you need to use SELinux on your server. A policy is not included, and you must build your own. Third-party policies are not supported. For this section 2 in it show installing SELinux packages, I'm going to use another machine, so I will log in to that machine. Okay. Okay. So SELinux packages are not installed by default, so you need to install them manually. So you can use the following command to install SELinux utilities and policies. Okay, so let's run this: sudo zipper install restore con-d and policy core utils and SE tools console and SELinux tools, and you hit enter. As we said before, a policy is not included and you must build your own. Third-party policies are not supported by openSUSE or SUSE, and on that case you have to contact SUSE, and you might use micro OS, the immutable system from openSUSE and SUSE, for using SELinux with the predefined policies SELinux. Okay, so now let's set yes. So now I'm going to quote the official manual of openSUSE. The manual is Security and Hardening Guide. They said about the installing an SELinux policy. Start of quote. The policy is an essential component of SELinux. openSUSE Leap 15.6 does not include a default policy, and you must build a policy that is customized for your installation. SELinux policies should be customized for your particular needs. Contact SUSE consulting services for assistance. We recommend uh, SL, the SUSE Linux Enterprise Micro for customs and partners, for customers and partners who are looking for a containerized or virtualized host with full SELinux support, including a supported policy. So for testing purposes, for now, we can obtain the policy from the following link, and we can do sudo zipper to add the repository of https download openSUSE.org. Okay, repositories and security SE Linux underscore legacy 15.6, and now we have the repository added. After that, we should install the following SE. But before that, let's do refresh. And again, because valid URL metadata not found as specific URL. So as you can notice that the link is here, and sometimes when I'm recording, I record like on a spot while I'm testing and I'm trying to do the thing. So it seems that openSUSE manual needs to be updated, because when I checked that from their official manual, that here it should be 6, and I found that this link is not available anymore, and the only one left for the Linux legacy is 15.5. So I will go with it, and I cannot promise you, because SELinux is a little bit tricky on openSUSE. So I will try to do my best to go around it and to show how to get it installed on openSUSE. And again, if you are into SELinux, my advice is to choose a Linux flavor that has a full support for SELinux. For now, openSUSE focusing on AppArmor. If you want SELinux, it is like a special request from SUSE. So let's add this repository. Okay, we need a name here at the end. It's complaining. Okay, and now the repository is added. Let's refresh it. Zipper refresh. Okay. Yeah, but I guess I did a small mistake here. Sudo vi etc zipper repo and SELinux. Let's, yeah, I believe it's only till here. And let's try again. So it going through. And again, this is for testing purposes only. You have to build your own SELinux. And as I said, this channel is completely focused on openSUSE. So you can leave in the comments, and based on number of requests, maybe I will make a video only dedicated for SELinux, and I will be working on Fedora. If you guys want me to go through SELinux from ground up and like understanding, explanation, everything. Okay. So after that, we need to install sudo zipper install SELinux policy targeted. Okay, and SELinux policy development, and we say Yes, for the installation. So now the installation finished. Just remember that AppArmor still up. So we will go through the configuration and we will make stopping AppArmor at the end before we reboot the system, because you have to reboot the system for SELinux to start labeling all your files on the system. So let's check this file, vi etc SELinux config, and by default you will see that SELinux is permissive. Permissive is the same like AppArmor is in complaint mode. It will not stop anything, but it will be heavily logging every single action happening on your system from all the files. So be careful also about that and your storage space. So here, if you want your system to, okay, just a habit, you can YY and then P or paste, and I comment the original and I start editing the new one. Okay. So here we can take the forcing. Okay. And we save the file. That is the first step you need to do if you are going to make your system start in enforcing mode. Because as I said, in permissive mode, SELinux doesn't protect your system, but it still logs everything that happens. So use this mode for testing and configuring your system. Okay. Now to enable also SELinux in the grub2 bootloader, we should go to, okay, to make my life more easier, I will just switch to root and we go to etc default grub. Okay, and you find this parameter cmd default, this one, and you go at the end, and as you see, the way of adding parameters, we take one space, okay, and we write security equal SELinux to prevent system from loading AppArmor while booting. Okay, and SELinux equal 1 to activate SELinux, and then you save your file and write it again here to enable the use of SELinux for your system, okay, while booting. So the first parameter that we set, security equal SELinux, tells the kernel to use SELinux and not AppArmor. The second parameter enables SELinux. After adding the parameters, we have to rebuild our grub configurations. So you run this grub to dash make config dash o and boot grub, okay, and grub dot. So here, because this is a virtual machine and by default it's using BIOS, if you are using EFI or UEFI, here instead of grub, like here, it will be starting with EFI. So mind this and don't forget about it. And we just press enter to rebuild our grub. So now we can reboot at this point for the SELinux to start. But before we do that, another two steps is, okay, man SELinux, and we search for auto relabel this here, this flag. All I need is this one, and we write touch and this one. Okay, so system disable now AppArmor to make sure that AppArmor service will not start. SELinux doesn't limit any activities and logs everything is that it should be doing it if it were in enforcing mode. So you may review the log to learn what activities are not allowed because we are going to start our system in enforcing mode. Okay, so the second step here I did, and then we can directly reboot our system, or the same thing this will do is this command restore con dash r and root. It will do the same like auto relabel. Okay, so let's reboot our system, and I will be back after the reboot finish. Okay, so it seems that the system didn't boot in SELinux while it's enforcing, and I had to move it back to permissive. And to show you the two files that I edited, sudo -i v-i-e-t-c SELinux config. I changed this back to permissive instead of enforcing to be able to boot the system. And the other one, default grub, we forgot to delete the security here because we are going to add security SELinux, so you have to remove this. So I highlighted this file and I added a new line, and I just removed the security AppArmor. Okay, so as I said, SELinux is tricky on openSUSE, but let's take it further. And if you are on SUSE Linux, better stick with the AppArmor. So let's run this command restore con -r to restore the reset the security context, and let's finish it and we'll be back again. So it is going to take some time and depends on the number of the files in your system. So finally it finished. You would like to run this command se status -v to see the status of your SELinux, and we can see here current mode. Okay, is permissive and loaded policy name targeted. Okay, so SELinux is enabled on our system. You can do like lsd for, let's say, there's a file in the root. We can see that it has a label now. One more package we need to install is policy core utils python utils. Okay, we need to install that because it includes some commands. Okay, let's get it installed. Should not take a long time because this command will give us the ability to access the available policy on the system, like a verification. So we can do se manage boolean -l, and we can see all the, and by the way, these policies came from the repository we added because SUSE doesn't include the default policies for SELinux, especially the third-party policies. Okay, so this command is listing all Boolean switches that are available and at the same time verifies that you can access the policy. The other command is se manage if context. This one, let's type it to less. It shows the default file context settings as provided by the policy. Okay, so let's move forward and we will give example, real life example about securing your web server. Okay, So let's say you are running a web server such as Apache on your openSUSE system. By default, the Apache process will be assigned a security label like HTTPD_T. The files it serves will have labels like HTTPD_sys_content_T, like this one. Let's do like that. And the capital SRV W. Here, this is the label we are talking about. Okay. SELinux checks these labels whenever Apache tries to access a file. You can view labels of files the same way we did now. So let's say for an example that okay, let's check this one, SRV. These are the folder under /SRV. So let's say your web server will be running from this one, like we can create, okay, my website, okay. So and we press enter. So if we look here, that it is not taking the folder is not taking the correct label. So to ensure that Apache can serve files from this custom directory, you need to label the files correctly. So in order to do that, we are root already, se manage, okay, file context -a -t htt. Okay, I'm lazy, I will take it this copy, okay, and between double quotes the pass my website, and between open brackets, this is a regular expression, okay, and we press enter. And after that you should run restore con -rv and srv my website. So now when we run again, we will see that the folder is, we did something wrong here, websites, my website. So yeah, we forgot here in the regular expression, we forgot the question mark. And again, okay, to run restore con. So now relabeled, and when we do that, here it is labeled with the correct label. So again, this command assigned the correct security label to the directory and its contents, allowing Apache to serve files from it. Okay. That wraps up our deep dive into Firewalld, AppArmor, and SELinux on openSUSE Linux. These are powerful tools for securing your system, and knowing how to use them can protect you from a wide range of threats. Whether you are a home user or managing servers in a professional setting. If you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe for more Linux tutorials and tips. Leave a comment if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.